Well, first off, preemptive congratulations on the show.
Thank
hopefully.
you. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Well, we made it.
You've made it. Is it 8 episodes?
8.
8 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
This must be very exciting. I can imagine being
Yeah.
involved in not just the show itself, but something that's quite big, as connected to Marvel and everything else.
Oh yeah, yeah, very exciting.
How did you get involved in the first place? How did the project kind of come across your table?
Well, I was fortunate enough to work with Noah and John Cameron on a little TV show called Fargo, and we did that for the 2nd season, and then I went away and sort of like took a breath. I felt like I was in a dream. And then after Fargo aired, Noah asked me to come read in for his new piece, and I thought, yeah, well, I'll go try it on, I don't want to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, but if it's my role, then let's do this. So I was really honored to be asked to just try it on and audition, and so yeah, that was a while ago, actually, now that I think about it. When was that? November at some point.
I guess with these kind of shows, particularly with connected to comic books and everything else, they're quite secretive about what it is. Did they tell you at the beginning what it was, or did you not have any idea?
Oh, that's a good question. I forget sometimes that this is a Marvel piece, number one, because it's sort of a story rooted in so many other things as well. And I think for Noah, it was more like, well, is there a story here if we lift the genre? So I knew about my character. I knew a little bit about kind of her journey, but I didn't know where it was going to go, or we weren't.
I've written down actually that quote. I just saw that on a
Isn't
Twitter
that nice?
somewhere.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of the Christopher Nolan Batman movies in the sense that I think his thing was, if you took the Batman element, could you make a compelling film
that's
about it? Which
that's a
sounds
great
like what you've
comparison.
done with this, which is great.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the character that you play and how she fits into the series.
Well, we meet Syd at the mental hospital. Clock works in the beginning of the series, and she's been diagnosed with an antisocial anxiety disorder. She's been told a lot of things about herself for a long time, and maybe even believes some of them, but she's also at that point in her life where she's starting to ask some big questions about herself. Well, what am I? And what am I made of? What is that thing about me that makes me special? And then she meets David, and they fall in love, and they go on a big kind of journey together, and she plays a part in that while she's doing her own kind of self-work as well.
You've got an amazing cast in this, led by Mr. Dan Stevens, who us Brits know very well from Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
I think the world about to know is the Beast from Beauty and the Beast
Yeah,
as well
right,
as this.
I know.
What was it like working with him and the chemistry between you two? Because from the sounds of it, the two of you got on pretty well, and it was quite an easy relationship.
Yeah. Actually, the first day that I met Dan, I don't think I've ever had a better first meeting with someone. We just really connected and clicked, and he's a really talented guy, and he's really open. This process, building the show from the ground up, especially an experimental kind of avant-garde, but also classic story, takes a lot of, just openness, and, sometimes it was challenging and tricky, but, for me, it's like when there's a really fertile land of a lot of questions being asked, that's a really inspiring place. So if you can stay in it, stay with it. Having Dan kind of there, we would kind of pull each other up in certain places, and I learned a lot from him. I think we learned a lot from each other.
You've also got people like Jean Smart, who was in Fargo, I think.
Yes,
as well.
she was, yes.
Aubrey Plaza, who a lot of people love, and Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords.
Bill Irwin.
Yeah, Bill Irwin
Amber
as well.
Midthunder.
Amazing.
Jeremy
must
Harris,
be great to work with all those guys in their kind of different processes.
I mean, that's again one of Noah's true skills, is getting a band of people together that he trusts and has their own kind of artistic flavor. He is incredibly supportive of your own artistic expression, and would really write to that, play to that for the show. What more can you ask for?
It looks quite, looking at some of the, because I haven't let us see a lot of it yet, a lot of the trailers and stuff, and I read online that people had said that it looks very David Lynch-esque in terms of the feel of it. Was that something that Noah had said beforehand that was one of the influences? And obviously there's things like Deadpool now as well, which is kind of subverting the comic book genre, if you like.
Yeah, David Lynch for sure. Stanley Kubrick, Wes Anderson, Terrence Stamp movies. I think he was kind of going for more of like a retro and futuristic, Because when you lift, like we were saying about lifting the genre, well, if you lift time and place, for me, I feel like, well, what a way to let people in by saying what you think is going to be the most important thing. I promise you that's not it. Let's just go further than that.
Yeah.
By making it playful and whimsical and sort of mischievous and stylized. I didn't really know it was going to be that or look like that. So you kind of like, you just marvel at the ingenious creative designers that are coming up with these things. But that's part of it. That's part of what this process was like a very present, very active collaboration. You had to. You couldn't just like come in and do your own thing. You know, you had to like really discuss things.
They let you read a lot of the kind of comics beforehand.
Did they let me read?
Did you want to go back and kind of read the comics and everything?
You know, I looked at the drawings. I didn't read a lot of the storylines. I mean, I did, but then they quickly weren't what we were doing. So you kind of take part of that research and kind of narrow it to say, well, what is really helpful for me here? I would love to see a comic book created from our show, because sometimes I felt like, because like what we were just talking about with so stylized, it became little boxes, like in a comic book. I think at one point I was like, we're making the first comic book television show that's ever existed. But in a way, we're doing like an actual comic book thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Also, as well as Noah, you've got all the guys that were involved in obviously the X-Men movies, Bryan Singer,
Lauren,
O'Donnell. How present were they in terms of the making of it, or were they just in terms of by
super
name?
Present. Well, Lauren was there. Lauren was there and present, and they are a great sounding board, a loving mirror, really creative, kind of think on their feet kind of people, and they were really open to Noah. They were just like trusting and open. So we couldn't have had better kind of partners with them.
Have you seen any of the movies? Did you do any research in terms of watching the X-Men movies?
I didn't have. I did, but I'm a total fan. Yeah, a big admirer of their work. It's always entertaining. I'm always kind of moved by something. And so I think as admirers, we're like, well, what else can we do for this beautiful Marvel landscape? How else can we expand what is already so good about the work that they're doing? So I think that we're just kind of stretching it in like a new little pocket.
I just wanted to ask you finally about the experience of going to Comic-Con.
Oh, you just read my mind. So I was like, maybe that's what I want to talk about now.
I've never been. I would love to go one day. But it seems like a lot of people that are in these projects, as soon as they get to a Comic-Con, the passion of people is just so overwhelming that it's just, you know that you're making something that's, at least some people, at least they're going to have an audience. And
that was just my experience. I mean, I went there and I was tired, and then by the end of the day, I knew exactly who we were making the show for. I mean, these people are decked out unapologetically in a place where they feel like they could actually maybe be who they are. That's what a mutant is, right? Like an other, an outsider who has something about themselves that hasn't been cultivated and maybe even neglected or ignored. But if you can come together and find a space where they can express themselves, are supported in that, Comic-Con felt like the perfect kind of mirror to tell us what the show was for us and for them. And it was halfway through our filming of it, so I was like so pumped by the end of it. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. Well, it looks fantastic. I can't wait to see it. Thank you so much for your time.
So good to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Cheers.
you're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey,